Hey, good evening, and welcome to the Comics Experience Graphic Novel of the Month Club for the month of February 2022. I am really excited by this book. This is a great book. This is the Masterpiece Edition too, because this comic is, I really think, a masterpiece. Yeah.
Steady on.
I put it in the same category as Sandman and Preacher and things like that. So that's just, that's how I am, at least. I love OGLAF, and we are really lucky to have all the way from Australia, Trudy Cooper and Doug Bayne. I got pronounced both of those right. Yeah, no funky pronunciations. Yeah.
No, nothing tricky.
Very good. Very good. Well, welcome, or I guess, should I say good day?
Oh, come on. Yeah, no, it's really smash them together. It's g'day.
G'day. All right.
No, it's slower.
Like you're going to murder
a bit of a threat. Yeah,
g'day. G'day.
Oh, yeah. Now you're Aussie. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, how are you guys? Well, it's tonight here. It's your afternoon tomorrow. You're in the future. We're talking to you in the future.
Yeah, so great news. The world doesn't end for you guys in the next 12 hours.
Nice. Nice. Well, hey, look, I'm really glad for you joining us because, like I said, I love this book. My first question is, I ask this of everyone: why comics? Of all the ways you could be expressing yourself, of all the art you could do, because comics is not what they would call an easy mistress, I don't think. So what touches you? What makes you think? What makes you feel about comics?
It's strange because it's something I've always been drawn to from the moment I could hold a pen. So I was telling my preschool teachers that I was going to grow up to be a cartoonist. So it's just laser focused the whole way, and I like pictures. I like the mix of words and pictures, and I just think that comics has so much scope. It can be for kids, it can be for grown-ups, it can be funny, it can be touching, it can make you cry, it can make you scared. It's just a really lovely medium.
And we do a bit of animation and stuff too. But there's just this fabulous thing that happens in comics in between the pictures. Like if you animate someone walking across the room and closing the door, that's a thing and it exists in a world in its way. But if you draw someone in a room and then they're out the door, this whole thing happens inside your head between those panels, and it makes this strange, wonderful world that happens nowhere else. It's really unique to the comic medium, the way you create the story between the panels. And so you can start playing with that. And a lot of great comedy comes from just that little tiny grab between what you think is going to happen, then what happens in the next panel, and then you have to rush backwards and create the world between panel A and panel B. And I love that. It's a super fun thing to play with.
And I also love the chance to linger that you don't get in a moving picture. In a comic, you can linger on a panel, even if you don't need to. So you can really,
and you can back up too.
Yeah.
I do it all the time. I go back 3 pages, like, oh, wait a minute, no, now I see what that scene was doing. Oh, cool. Yeah, comics are a fantastic medium in their audience participation. Right. I think that's a big part of it. The example I always use is just because every single human being knows this one is Lucy pulling the football from Charlie Brown. If you actually look at the comic, she doesn't ever pull the football away. Who pulls the football? Yeah, right.
It's just Charlie on the ground. Yeah.
Right. Like we pull the football away.
Yeah. Oh, we've been torturing Charlie all these years. I feel so bad.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
He could have been just lying down, having a little nap. Yeah.
Comics are the gutters. That's as far as I'm concerned. The gutters are what makes comics. The thing that they are. Tell me about the earliest, because you said you wanted to be Trudy from a very young age. You wanted to be a cartoonist. What did you read? What were you exposed to that you went, that's what I want to do?
Probably. Let me just think. I'd have to say manga would have been probably, I think a lot of people probably would, Westerners probably have the same response just because we were so used to, and look, I'm no shade because I absolutely loved it, but I grew up reading Archie comics and And yeah, I absolutely loved it. But there was actually I can't remember which Archie comic it was. It might have been Pep. It might have been, I can't remember. But there was this other story in it called Marvelous Maureen, which was a sci-fi comedy. And it was absolutely fucking nuts. And I fucking loved it. It was just out of left field. It didn't give a shit. And in amongst sort of the more structured Archie stuff, it really stood out for me. So I think that was probably one of the earlier, fuck yeah, I want to do weird, crazy shit like that. But yeah, manga and European comics probably were the ones that really fired
Asterix for me. Loved Asterix as a kid. Tintin, amazing. Just these vivid worlds that you go, oh,
yeah. What's I mean, because I just don't know very much. What's the comics scene like in Australia? Like how accessible are comics?
We've got the dedicated stores. There's all the online stores. I mean, we haven't been in the local scene for quite a while because we're hermits.
Yeah, how accessible are us? Not very.
But yeah, no, it's pretty big over here. We've got lots of bookstores have pretty good comic sections now. Like you know, lots of graphic novels and stuff. So there's like Kenakuniya has got massive. Big area for graphic novels and not just specialist comic stores. So yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah.
So what was it? Were you getting a good amount of manga 20 years ago?
Not really.
25 years, 20 years ago, maybe even.
20 years ago, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, 20 years ago. What? That's. Yeah, the timeline's blurry, but yeah, no, I have a feeling like it was there. It had exploded out and become popular at that point.
Okay.
But before then, it was a bit niche, and you had to go to specialist stores that would charge you exorbitantly for books and VHS tapes.
Sure. Well, I mean, I believe that American comics are preposterously expensive in Australia, right?
Pretty much everything that we import is ridiculously expensive. Like there's always a crazy markup for us. So. And then we think, I'll get around that by ordering directly from the US, and then the postage costs get slapped on. So it's like,
Right. Or it gets lost in the postal service for weeks and weeks.
Oh no, the postal service is saying Australia, nah, not currently. We're not doing that.
Right.
Sending things to Australia can give you COVID, apparently.
Yeah. Oh man. So when did you I mean, you said you always wanted to be a cartoonist, Trudy, but when did you start making your first cartoons?
When I was in primary school, I did the old classic thing of buying an exercise book and you rip the cover off, and then because it's a comic, I'll just fill it out, and I'd get to page 3 and run out of steam because planning, no, I'm just going to go for it. So I did a lot of that sort of stuff. So it was and incredibly derivative as it is when you're young. So it's I really love that. I'm going to redo it, and TV shows I love. I'm going to do a comic of that. So that's where it all started.
Do you have any of that stuff today?
Probably not. No, my mother is notorious for throwing shit out. So I think it just got turfed with a whole bunch of other crap that I'd foolishly forgotten to put in a box when I left home. So unfortunately not.
Right. And Doug, how about you? Did you draw comics as a kid? Did you come to it as a teen or older?
I always drew as a kid. Always loved drawing, and went to animation college. And then, as often happens when you arrive at college, you go, "Oh, I don't draw that well, do I?" But always drew. Always loved drawing.
Animation college. That's kind of cool.
That's how we met. So we both did the same course.
Nice. So. Nice. Wow, that's really cool. Was it a program in a school, or was it a school dedicated?
It was the Queensland College of Arts, and it was degree courses in specific art areas. So there was the fine art degree, animation degree, jewelry, ceramics. It was everything. So it was all mashed in together.
Yeah, General Arts College. Great. Yeah. So Trudy, were you in the animation program because there wasn't a cartooning program, maybe?
No, I thought animation was for me. I was
Right.
wrong, but I went in thinking, yeah, because I mean, the comics and animation are just so intertwined with me anyway, and no, I absolutely loved all the the Harmony Gold stuff in the 80s and stuff, and all the Robotech and everything. I bloody loved it. So I went in thinking, yeah, this is going to be a doddle, and I just don't have the fucking patience for it. It's just no. Mind you, we learnt in the before times, when you had cells that had to be painted and photographed one after the other on a giant camera, and it was just really boring.
So there's a retrograde answer to your question, why comics? Because animation is so hard,
fucking boring,
takes ages.
Yeah.
Love it, but
and there was
that's someone else's job. I mean, good on you, Miyazaki, but Jesus.
But when we went to uni around that time, so it was late 80s.
That's college to you.
College, early 90s, and so you had the big boom in self-publishing on the comic stands. It's like I can't even remember the name of the imprints now, but it was just I absolutely adored it. Everything was in black and white, and just everybody was publishing a comic. And one of the guys who was in the year above us, he loved manga, and he was publishing a comic with a local Australian imprint. And it was, I thought, fuck, you can do that? Like it had not occurred to me that you could do comics. Like I just thought it was a pipe dream.
You could become a publishing house.
I know. I was like, you can fucking do that. And I was like, so blown away by that idea. And that planted a seed that I was not going to let go of. And so we started self-publishing our first comic. And
this was Platinum Grip we're talking about.
That's just Platinum Grid, yeah. So they're very, very.
Trudy doesn't like to talk about Platinum Grid.
I just wanted to
ain't out of her old work.
Something that you started with before.
No, of course. No, there was, yeah. So we did that, and it was. Unfortunately, it costs money. It costs money to do self-publishing, and it making money is really, really freaking hard. Even when you sell as well as we did, it's still really damned hard.
But seeing your comics on newsstands,
that was so exciting. Yeah, and you get your first letter from somebody who's actually read it, and you're like, "Fuck, people are reading it!" And because there was no email back then, because again, before times, and so it was all people would write you letters, and so it was. Crazy, you get it and have that confirmation that somebody has actually read this, which was nice. So,
just like a real one.
I know.
I'm super impressed that you guys were, even though it was the 90s, I understand, but that you were able to get it onto the newsstand, because that is not a thing. There are a lot of cartoonists in America that tried to get their comics on the newsstand and completely, so the ones, most of them didn't succeed, but the ones who were able to usually lost so much money doing that, because at least in America, the newsstand system was completely corrupt. It was mobbed up. Boy, was it mobbed up. And it was very common for someone to send 10,000 comics or whatever, be told, oh yeah, we only sold 500 of them, not ever get any proof of what, and so they were just making up numbers, and paying them whatever they felt like, How successful was it on the newsstand?
It wasn't too bad. I think
financially, not at all.
Yeah. I mean, all in all, we might have just scraped breaking even with a combination of newsstand and comic store sales. So
and there was a big old comic convention on at the time, and that was where we you make a little bit of money there selling it over the counter to folks and
selling merch and stuff. So
interesting. That's really interesting. Did that change at all once the books started coming out?
Which book? Sorry, the
Platinum Grip books, the paperback. Because you've already paid the sunk costs of the labor, right?
Yeah.
So it's no,
the labor's free. You're going to do that anyway. that's just cartoonist labor. Kids are just doing that by themselves in a shed. You don't need to pay them.
Because back in those days, as I recall, you had to pay per page to get the photostats made, right? Like there were sunk
Just trying to
costs to
think.
print objects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So once you're just compiling it into a book, then that stuff theoretically at least gets reduced or goes away. Oh,
It reduced a little bit. You still have all these weird pre-press costs.
right.
Yeah. And also press in Australia is more expensive. Like it was more expensive for us than say the places that, you know, people use in Canada and stuff. They're much cheaper. So yeah.
I know that I've saw some copies of at least the paperbacks in the States. Did you have regular distribution?
No, what happened was because we had vanity pressed like the paperbacks through Lulu for quite a while, and so we had and it was a really small audience. Like it was a small audience. They were a lovely audience, but they were tiny, and so everybody who pretty much wanted to buy the physical copies had kind of bought them through Lulu. And what had happened back then was the image imprint that Jim Valentino ran were interested in. Shadowline. That's the one. Old brain.
It was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. Yeah. So that they were interested because they ran the that they had a bunch of web comics that they ran on their own site, and we were one of them. And because it got a pretty good response, they decided to go with the first graphic novel.
Yeah.
The first collection. But the problem was everybody who would have bought it had kind of already bought it from Lulu, so the sales weren't great for that reason, because we really did have a small audience. You know, the art and the early artwork, very rough. Oh my god, like rough as well. So coming into it, it was a difficult comic for people to jump onto. Unless you read from the beginning and had to weather through my very rough early artwork. So yeah, it didn't do so great. So, you know, there were copies out there, but yeah, we didn't end up going to book number 2, which I completely understand. So that's what happened.
It's, you know, like I said, I did a little bit of trying to do a little bit of research ahead. There's still at least one message board somewhere there that has platinum grit threads where somebody is posting literally every year that it's 2021, it's 2022. I wonder if they're ever going to come out.
Oh no!
Yeah, I swear it up. I swear I found it. It was linked to, I think, your live journal, which is the only thing that I was able to find that was still out there, that was still up.
I hope that person isn't trapped and has only that.
I'm so sorry, person. I'm a piece of shit. No, I'm so sorry, but no, it's died.
I hope that's not like an Man in the Iron Mask kind of deal, where that's the only place where someone can communicate with the world is via a platinum grit notice board saying, "Is someone coming to rescue me?"
Can I ask? Is the reason that it ended, was that because is it more because it wasn't profitable to go on, or is it more because it just too much?
Because it cost money to do, and because it had such a small audience, and because of it took an incredible amount of time and work from me drawing those pages, and Danny to write it. The only thing that kept Platinum Grit going was our love for the project. Yeah. And when that love died, and both of us kind of fell out of love with it at the same time,
right?
You just can't keep going on it, you know. So it just died a death. And
I understand. Yeah. I think that Grit ended in,
I'm going to say 2008, because
OGLAF. The image edition came out in 2009. If that helps,
okay. I think there was a year where I was still thinking, I'm going to get the next one done. I'm going to thinking I was going to do it simultaneously, but
And OGLAF itself started in 2008. Then
2009, I think.
2009.
Was where we started.
Okay.
I think
because the fifth printing of the book is all about 2020 dates, right? Like, because it's not a first printing, I can't go and see what the original copyright was.
I'm pretty sure it was 2009. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So there was at least some overlap where you were working on both projects in some capacity.
Attempting to, yeah.
Yeah. What was the impetus to do a weekly strip like OGLAF?
The internet as a medium was very much part of it. It's just like after you've sort of poured the time and expense and horrible. Okay, so pre-press, which for the kids is something you have to do to a book before you can release it to the world, is horrible, and it requires all this esoteric knowledge about print sizes and shapes, and you don't really get a clear idea what it's going to look like before you send it to the printer, and they send a print back, and that costs you money, and you just go, oh, it's horrible. How do we fix this? I don't know. And it's this horrible, protracted process, and we sort of started seeing the internet. You can just make a picture.
It looks good on the screen.
Upload a picture.
It's done.
And I know that doesn't sound like sorcery because that's how it is these days. But at the time, that was mind blowing. You could jump right over this horrible, boring, non-creative part of putting things out in the world to the internet. And so we were very, very keen to do something online.
Yeah. The kind of the nature of doing a strip is different than the nature of doing a comic book, obviously, sort of short form versus long form.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that part of it a little bit, maybe?
Yeah.
You want a more specific question, or was that too
Nah.
No, because we sort of dabble with a bit of long form, like we do have the multi-page stories and the stories that go over several weeks and stuff, but they still have to kind of conform to at least the beat of a strip, which can be a little bit tricky. Doug?
Yeah, they are very different. And we are doing some longer stories, and we are about to start publishing a 200-page story. And we still haven't exactly figured out how to release that.
Yeah. We might have to just have a little thing on the side of the comic saying, we've gone a bit long form. Don't expect a gag at the end of every page, because it's going to be
or just release it like in little scenes. So so like a movie scene where the location changes. There isn't, and you move on. So you get 5 or 6 pages in one location one week, and then 3 or 4 the next, or whatever. We have to figure out exactly how to release that. But we've got a long story that we're super excited about coming very soon.
Very good. Is it? It sounds like it's well on its way. I mean, have you drawn 200 pages yet? No. Yes.
No.
I have drawn some of them, but we're in draft 2 of the story, so still ironing out bits and pieces. But it's our patrons on Patreon have had a sneak peek.
Oh, nice.
So yeah.
Very good. Very good.
It is a thing that is happening.
Yeah. But sort of alongside the weekly stuff, which is sort of a different beast in that sometimes ahead of time we know what we're doing, and sometimes it's Saturday morning and we're going, oh God, we don't have a strip. Okay, what's funny? What's funny this week? And sometimes it's Sunday morning and we're going, oh Jesus, we don't have a strip. It's going to be a rough one.
Yeah.
How close to deadline are you creating things? And
well, it's been right up to the wire. We've actually been late sometimes, where we've had to say, sorry, strip tomorrow, because we've either fucked up or something's fucked us up or whatever. But we try to have it done by Sunday evening, our time. So yeah, and then we put
and we're done some favors by the international dateline. Yes. We're 12 or 14 hours ahead of the States, and so we get to be going at sort of midnight, 2 o'clock Sunday morning, going, it's still Sunday somewhere.
Because I don't think I've seen one late yet. I don't think. I mean, I'm sure that they were, but on my end, it was fine. Because I'm not necessarily waking up at 9 a.m. too and like logging on first thing. I love you guys, but it's not the first thing I do on Sunday morning.
No. That's comforting, to be honest.
I guess I wonder about sort of at the time where you started producing the book, there certainly wasn't a clear path to monetize the work, right? No. Now it's not as though when you were doing the comics where you were losing a little bit of money on them, as you said, at least this is revenue neutral, but there wasn't a way to make money off it per se.
No, again, this was just something that made us laugh, and we thought, fuck it, let's put it on the internet. And
and we were losing so little money. That was exciting. We were used to losing heaps of money.
And at the start, we went anonymous as well. So it was like, we don't fucking care. And so it was just something dumb that made us laugh, and we didn't give a shit if it did well or not. It just miraculously did. So things changed.
And so given the relationship that you had with the comic, with Platinum Grit, and that you had fallen out of love with it, was this a way to find your love for comics again? I guess is
kind of, yeah. I mean, it's just I don't know. I just think it's kind of natural to grow out of things, and then,
of course,
I mean, which is ridiculous given how puerile OGLAF is, but
yes, your mature work.
Exactly. It was a chance to fix and redo things and have another crack at it, and I feel like things that I would change about previous work have are present in OGLAF, and it's just a growth, a personal growing thing.
And you can fall out of love with a comic, but not with comics as a medium. So
you're
just looking for the
Sure. Was there any point in sort of, I don't know, the first year or so that you thought, oh Christ, why did we say that this had to be weekly?
Oh yeah. Oh God.
Every week for the last decade.
We stupidly think it's Sunday, we'll put it up Sunday, and we've completely fucked our own weekend. What is a social life? So when we're really in the grip of frantically trying to write something, or it can be really, really, really unpleasant.
But both of us are procrastinators and need some kind of deadline.
So the whipping that we get from Sunday's update, it kicks us into gear.
It makes it happen.
Bit of fear of God works
without
wonders.
that pressure. Love won't get you through, but fear will.
Before I ask my next question, let me just remind people at home, if you have a question that you'd like to ask, put it in the comments on the side. If we think your question is good or better than mine, which they probably aren't, but maybe they are.
It's not a contest. It's not a contest, okay?
It's a little tiny bit of a contest.
I know, but we say it's not.
If none of you have questions too, that's fine. But I just throwing that out there. Okay, back to me. Where did the title come from? What the hell's an OGLAF?
That is us. Okay, so when it started, and you can see a shift actually. When it started, it was in our brains very kind of Nordic, Lord of the Ringsy, kind of cold weather Scandinavian people running around fighting Scandinavian monsters. And so OGLAF was just us making up a name that sounded sort of Scandinavian to us. Sorry, any Scandinavian people watching,
really
but
sorry.
it's a bit like we laugh.
Well, because OGLAF is the name of the shepherd with the magical.
Actually, sorry, winding it back.
Yeah.
Early 2000s, there was a guy called Chad Frick doing Flash animation / comics.
There was interactive Flash comics.
Animations.
It was yuck.com.
Yuck.com. Yeah. And I wonder if that still exists. But that was super fun because that was early days of the internet, and so you couldn't stream sound. And so one of the strips on his site was The Adventures of Beetle Boy, a hapless beetle herder who'd lost his beetle and went in search of them and went on these bizarre, surreal fantasy adventures. And we always read it and go, why doesn't Beetle Boy get laid?
Yeah.
Because
this could be porn.
We're 12.
This could be filthy. Why isn't it? Yeah.
And so it started as that. It was essentially our knockoff of Beetle Boy, but with fucking.
So we had OGLAF, the shepherd boy, who was our
Beetle Boy stand-in.
Our Beetle Boy stand-in. And originally, when it was OGLAF, literally was just us getting high on the weekend, without a plan, and just drawing comics to make each other laugh. And no one will ever see those ever. But we do still have that.
You don't see the Shepherd Boy until what looks like the ninth week.
Originally, OGLAF was the main character. It was the the Adventures of OGLAF, the Shepherd Boy, and we really quickly realized, because OGLAF is incredibly stupid, like he is just dumb as a fucking brick, and we realized pretty quickly it's quite limiting having a main character who's dumb as shit. And we expanded the characters out and included a sorceress who we called Mistress. And then we gave her,
and I think an apprentice called Apprentice.
He didn't have a name.
No
we gave her an apprentice, and he was a cranky little shit. And we very quickly realized
this was before incels were cool.
Oh God, Jesus fuck! And so we quickly realised that he was actually a much more interesting character. So we kept the name OGLAF
because we bought the domain.
Because we bought the domain. But yeah, it became the name of the whole strip itself. So yeah.
So did you have I don't know 8, 12, 16 weeks ready to go before you launched? We
did. We had a little backlog. We went through them pretty quickly because we thought, we don't have to do one this week. We've got a backlog. We've planned for this. And soon enough, it was just like, fuck. So, yeah.
I like that. Is there a question? Ben says there's a question. So it's from Jordan, who is our producer.
Hey.
That's very good. One of the things that I like about OGLAF is all the body/sexuality types, gender expressions, kinks, etc. How important has that been to you as the series has progressed? Excellent question, Jordan.
Super important, but funnily, it's something that we had to learn. Because like I was saying before, in our mind, it was this sort of Scandinavian setting. And so it was all these white people running around in the snow.
It was very white.
But then we got an email that said,
"Oi."
Oh yeah, the email was pretty literally, "Hey, black people like this shit as well. You should have some black people." And we kind of went, "Oh,
fuck! So
that
sorry,
is so
that
shameful.
is so true. Oh my god, we're
shameful."
fucked.
And you can, if you flip through that first book, you'll see a page where we start going, "Oh my god, that is just so embarrassing. We need some black people in there. We need some different races."
Yeah. So you can see where it was like, fuck yes, and we'll make up for lost time. Fucking get in there. And I still think it's not perfect, and it's still an ongoing thing where I'm constantly trying to push. Every time there's when we finish writing a strip, when Doug finishes writing a strip, and there's like a layout, I look at it and think, who can I make queer? Who can I make a person of color? How can I mix this up? And so it's a lot of the time very random. Because I've also got to sort of think, well, if I do this, is there going to be some subtext that we aren't intending that's going to upset anybody? So you've got to think of that as well, and just we want people to enjoy it, not to be upset. So it's a learning thing. It's a constant learn.
It's something we're conscious of, something we
conscious
fuck up
of, constantly trying to get better at, constantly trying to improve, constantly trying be mindful of.
I really feel like the strip today is pretty comfortably balanced. I mean, it feels really balanced to me as the whole. When I picture it in my head, I definitely think of black characters, Asian characters. Good. I think of it. I mean, so you've accomplished that much at least. But you're right. Now that you say it, like looking back to the first book, like, this is a very, very white book.
White people.
Whitey McWhiteson book. Yeah, it is.
No, and I particularly like the fact of how joyous your approach to sex is. Like, it's positive. Sex is positive here. Even when weird people are doing weird things.
And horrible things happen as a result of joyous sex.
It's a balance.
It feels positive to me.
Oh, good. Yeah. And I guess the other thing we try and do is try and not have sex as the punchline. And I think when people do that, that leads to weird things because you have to bring a bunch of assumptions if the end panel is going to be, and then they fuck. I guess we do that sometimes.
We do that sometimes.
Yeah. But it's sort of easier to go somewhere interesting and keep the sex itself joyful if the fuck starts earlier.
Yeah.
And isn't the big.
Do you are there you can take the Chiron off too, by the way, Ben. Thank you. I'll do the next question in a second. Do you just by any chance, like, do you have like a professional sexologist or therapist that you talk to like just talk about any of this stuff, or is it all completely from your fervid imaginations?
Yeah, it's just
a lot of trolling the internet.
Yeah, a bit of trolling the internet. I guess. But yeah, no, it's just sex is funny and fun and should be both of those things, and should never take itself too seriously. And you just
don't see a lot of examples of that in art is the thing. I mean, in almost any expression, like, it becomes porny just to become porny, and this is not. It doesn't feel like. In fact, there are whole weeks that go by where probably no one's having sex. You know.
In the gutters is where it happens.
No, I'm always surprised when people go, "Oh my god, it's a safe for work strip." It's like, what are you talking about? We've got loads of those. But I guess it's just people expect. Expect a box on every page.
It's true. No, there was at least one person who this was the first book of, because it's a monthly club. This is the first book they got, and they're like, "Are they all?" Is there one that doesn't have so much sex? I'm like, no. This is we don't normally, It's all good to have sex with tits, but we don't, no, it's not. Very funny. Okay, the next question is from Podrigo, who is also a regular here. Very good, Podrigo. Has there ever been an idea for a strip that you ended up abandoning because it was too raunchy?
Okay.
Did we?
Can we get some more information? What are you thinking? Seriously, this.
What's the bar for too raunchy?
Give us an example of what might be, because we definitely want to do that strip.
Rodrigo, come on, more information, mate. Where are you? Come on, chuck us a bone, mate.
We'll let him type.
So definitely not too raunchy. Sometimes we look at stuff and go, that's a bit yucky, that's a bit weird.
And we have done strips in the past that we would never do now. It again, the learning curve. It's much more mindful about whether something's a bit whether it
and a lot of the time it's sort of finding the joke in a fun way. And we spend a lot of time bouncing strips back and forth. And so if we have a horse fucker sketch, but Trudy don't like the horse fucking.
No, I'm not.
She don't like it.
Really
too raunchy.
So I guess there are definitely some things that
there are definitely some nopes.
There are nopes. I guess that's what the question is. There are nopes. There are definitely nopes. Yeah.
And I guess that's sort of part of the grand spectrum of sexuality. Is raunchy for someone, is horrible for someone else, is tame for someone else. So I mean, you can sort of only work within your own sort of fields and feels and hope it resonates.
Yeah, the things that you've made nopes for you, are they your personal nopes, or have they been influenced by readers writing in and going, "Ooh, I really felt uncomfortable about this week's bit"?
We have definitely listened in the past to certain people who have been uncomfortable, but again, it's I suppose it's a.
You can't help but be influenced by that.
Yeah.
But we sort of try not to, and it isn't for everyone, and we do go some horrific places. And I think if as a reader it takes you to a bad place, well, It's like anything. You've got to stop reading it.
Yeah, it's a tricky one.
So yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it is supposed to be a dumb humor comic, and
making people feel uncomfortable isn't really.
But I mean, ultimately, sort of, we're having to arbit ourselves and saying, yeah, that seems fun, or no, that.
Yeah. So there's a lot of personal notes. There's a lot of things that I just definitely won't touch.
Fucking
no. Won't do it. But that said, I've drawn weird fucking things, like a man giving birth out his ass is something I never thought I'd be drawing, but there it is. But that's just general weird. But there's we have had strips where people have really fucking hated it, and people have proper fucking kind of flounced, flounced out the door, like, fuck you, I'm not reading this anymore. And it's like, okay, well,
Right.
That one didn't go down well. So you can't go and tidy that up and take it away. I mean, it is what it is. It's out there, So you've got to go. Oh, interesting. We'll bear that in mind. So yeah, it's.
I have to assume, perhaps incorrectly, but I have to assume that the two of you aren't as pansexual as the comic is. They're not all.
I'm I'm an old bi girl, so I'm quite pan. So yeah.
And I'm a secret horse fetishist.
But so what I was going to ask was there anything? Is there anything that you draw or that you like in terms of activities that in other words that you got it from, let's say, porn rather than from your own experiences, I guess?
I don't like a lot of porn. I'll be honest. I like the idea of porn more than I like actual porn. I think I get quite bored and.
But I think any medium is 90%.
Yeah, if I went and actually tried to find porn for me, I'm sure I would find it. It would be out there. But as a general, porn that I've watched in the past, it's the guys are always fucking quiet. The girl doesn't look like she's having a good time. It's just I find that kind of gross. There are certainly there's plenty of nicer stuff around. But yeah, a bit of I think I find more inspiration from people who put their own photos online, who have got control over their own bodies and their own body images, and that's where the exciting stuff is for me, where I go, yep, that is fucking smoking hot. I love it. I'm try to get a bit of that energy going in my artwork, but but in general, porn, no, not so much.
Yeah. How often do you feel the need to make the sex in the comic hot versus funny?
Generally go for comedy over hot a lot of the time. It depends on the strip. If there's some time in the strip to actually draw something that I feel is sexy, then I'll definitely go for it. Like we had recently, I think it was a 2-pager and got some girl on girl funny, which frankly, there's not enough girl on girl in the comic. I'm going on record saying that, but
I'd like to apologize.
I got to do some recently, and so it was a 2-pager, and I had a little bit of wiggle room, so like right, and that was fun. I really enjoyed that. So if it's constrained by the time, like is there time in this? Usually when it's a 1-pager, there's no time. Like you've got beats to hit, you've got the punchline to get to, and it is usually got a joke attached to it. So. And more often than not, it's fucking weird. Something weird is going on. So, it's kind of hard to find the sexiness in the weirdness. But the longer form stuff is generally where I get to have a bit more wiggle room with drawing pornography rather than just a smutty joke.
Sex comedy.
Sex comedy, yeah.
Yeah. So what's your process when you start a strip? Obviously, coming up with the ideas is the start, but once you come up with the idea, do you start laying it out? Do you write yourself a script of any kind? Are you guys just talking the ideas back and forth? Like, kind of what's the physical process of generating a strip each week?
There is a shared online document. And I'm trying to get in the habit of punching 5 ideas in every day. And I don't have to be good ideas, just 5 a day. Just knock them out. There's this guy, he's a pole vaulter, and but there's lube on the pole. And sort of... And then you start thinking about it. You go, well, hang on, okay, now I'm going to write that down because there's something there. And so there's a big old doc, and we punch stuff in, and Trudy puts stuff in. And then when we're coming into the weekend, we start going, yeah, that feels like something. And I'm always going, yeah, it's not a joke yet, is it? It's not a strip.
And because I'm not a writer, I'm like, why not? That's funny. Let's strip like and go right now. And no, it's not. There's a process.
Yeah, and so there'll be a paragraph that we feel, yeah, there's something there. And so we just stare at that and frown at that for a while, and it gets worked into dialogue or just sort of beats just in text. And from there, it goes to a scratchy thumbnail, which I draw. And one of the very exciting things about drawing scratchy thumbnails is I get to go, that's a shame. And I know that I have no idea what that is, but that's Trudy's problem now. She's going to turn it into something. It was quite exciting to see her sort of Rorschach blot interpretation of my weird squiggles. And I go, oh, look at that. It was a castle on fire. And so, yeah, the thumbnail gets drawn. That goes back and forth a couple of times. And when we're happy with it, Trudy starts drawing.
Wow, that's cool. I actually think we've done probably about 250 cartoonist interviews at this point. I think that you're the first cartoonist who isn't doing their own thumbnails. Like that first step. I find this fascinating.
I did in the past, but Doug sort of took that over along with the writing thing, but it works between us. It works because we're so used to how each other thinks, so that's how it works. But
that's we go back to that thing that I really love about comics is a thing that happens between the panels. That happens in thumbnails. Like that's where I get to go close up of a face, close up of a building on fire, like. There it is. There's that magical thing.
And I don't always follow. I'll look at the thing and go, nah, that's fucking boring. I'm going to punch into a close up over someone's shoulder in this shot, and mix it up that way. So it's a guide, not necessarily strictly what happens, but yeah, because I always laid out Platinum Grit, and I always laid out. I did a fair bit of laying out in OGLAF, but just in the last couple of years, it's sort of shifted a bit. So
it's interesting. It's an interesting way to work. I love it. I love talking to cartoonists because no two cartoonists work the same way. Like literally, it's not like it is with like music or film or prose. There's only a couple of different ways that people do those things, but with comics, it fascinates me that some people do this, some people do that, and it all works out on the page at the end.
If you've got a couple of minutes, if you can fill a couple of minutes, Trudy, I might jump up and find like a thumbnail and then the finished strip.
Oh, I'd love to see that.
Fun to see. Yeah, I'm going to go off for a second. I'll be back.
Fuck.
Phil.
What? Oh, hi. Hello.
No. There's nothing to fill. I can ask you a question.
Okay.
What's your process to work? Do you work pen and paper? Do you work
yes.
digital?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm very analog. I mean, it's the way I've always done it. I think it's I'm sure the younger generations, because they're used to doing everything digitally, different story. But I come from the before time, so yeah, pen and paper, ink on paper. Like I literally draw it in pencil. I ink over the pencil, and then I erase the pencil lines. There is no a lot of some artists do the blue pen thing, and then
right.
They've still got all those steps. But no, the pencil is gone once I've finished inking. So that's how, and I've always done it that way. That's how I've always done it. and then scan and color.
Because I guess and I assume that means that you can't erase your pencil lines for like an hour after you've inked it, right? Because the ink will still do that.
No. I use pens that dry straight away.
Oh, okay.
I have a particular type of pen that I like to use, and I don't like any other. So I'm very stuck in my ways. So
and what is that pen?
They're Unipen fine liners. That's I've learned about them many years ago from a friend, and they've been my constant companion since. So
yeah. In the pencil stage, how much are you thinking more about composition versus getting the joke to land? If that makes sense. I don't know if that made sense as a question.
Yeah, the composition's generally mapped out in the rough, so that takes a little bit of the saves me a little bit of time. It depends on the panel. It entirely depends on the panel. Like if there's we have to establish a place, then I've got to spend a bit more time trying to get the background looking like something. Yeah. But generally, when with the jokes, it's usually a closer in thing on the characters. So I get to enjoy just drawing the characters' expressions and stuff, which generally pushes the comedy. So and also the physicality of the characters. It's all in poses, postures, and body language. So that's
do you have like do you do it purely for imagination? Do you have a mirror next to you or in front of you?
No, I've never done the mirror.
Will you act this out for me for a second, or
no, I've never done it that way. It's always been from my head. So, but both of us had a fair bit to do with improv on the stage as well. So sort of we both of us have a bit of a performance background as well. So maybe that sort of helps a bit. But it's always come from internally.
Yeah.
In
generally what I've heard in animation is sort of that squash and stretch, right?
Stretch and squash, yep.
Yeah. Does that lesson apply at all in comics? Like did your animation training, in other words, make it easier or harder for you to do comics?
They kind of don't really have a whole lot of bearing on one another for me. Just because I've always drawn comics, so like the comic, whereas I only really started doing animation at university. So I come from comics, so probably maybe my comic work probably informs animation a bit more so rather than the other way around. Yeah, because the whole fluidity of the line, the fluidity of the posing and everything. Well, you're not moving from panel to panel like you're moving from frame to frame with animation, but you're still conveying movement. That's just as important. So that sense that they certainly apply to both. Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about the steps after the inking. Are you hand lettering or do you have a font?
No. Okay. Once I've inked it, it gets scanned in. Everything else is done digitally. So we use a Blambot font for our letters, and we sort of both of us work on the colors. So that's a joint.
Oh, that's interesting.
A team effort. Yeah.
That's
it's not just me. It's a team effort.
So how does that work kind of physically? Is one doing one panel and the other's doing the next? Or?
No. I generally will clean it all up, get it all. If there's anything that needs to be tweaked in Photoshop, I do all that. So clean up the line work, pull out the panel framing, and place. And I whack down a base color, and then Doug fancies it up because he's better at that than I am. So he's of the two of us, he's the painter. I'm not. So yeah.
You've said that you guys sometimes are like literally coming up with the idea just a couple hours before it sees press. What, on average, would you say? How long does it take you to do a page?
It depends on the page. If it's a really complicated, like it depends on how complicated it is. If there's a whole bunch of really complicated sex positions, for example, or the orgy scene, or a battle scene, or something that's going to take me a while, I'll probably draw that over 2 days. But if it's a bit more simple, if there's a couple of characters in a room doing something, then that's I can get that drawn. I want to say probably in about 6 hours.
Okay.
Constant drawing. I'll draw that, and then add another 6 to 8 hours on top of that for the color. So, yeah. Doug, what have you got? Oh, he's come back with a thing. Is this going to work?
I don't know.
Anyway,
I'm going to share it up in the chat, see what happens.
Well, we'll see. If it doesn't work, we'll edit it. Oh, wait, it's a live stream. We won't edit it out.
I think you should come back. That's what I think. I think I should sit down and I think I should come on.
No, you're not. You're not, Johnny. You're doing great. You're doing great. You're doing great. I'm amazed that you're running up against the deadline that often. Because
I'm the same, because it can be really stressful.
And particularly because though the book feels polished. The book genuinely feels, every panel seems polished to me and feels like something that you've spent an entire week working on.
Yeah, thank you. I guess we've kind of a bit of a well-oiled machine at this stage.
I'm trying to drag this into the chat. Is that a thing that can happen?
It's not a thing that can happen.
You can on the bottom of your thing. There's a share screen if that's what you're trying to do.
I was just trying to drag a JPEG into the chat, but yeah, let's do it with a share screen. Okay.
Well,
all right. Where even are we?
I don't know, Doug. Anyway.
Hang on. We're gonna
Womp
keep talking.
Keep talking. Yep.
Keep filling, Trudy. Come on.
All right. Filling.
Saying filling is not filling.
I know it's not. Okay. Another question.
Hey, so Ben, was there another question from the audience? I got him on something else now. One sec. Here it comes. It's coming. Any second now. Oh, wow. There's a lot of people talking. Noah Flanagan. Hello, Noah.
Noah.
Settings and punchlines in OGLAF are so creative. Can you walk us through a conversation of how you two come up with these strips? Well, we sort of just did that, but yes. Can you add to it in any way?
I'll tell you what. Let's get these wraps up, and we will talk about that.
Again, when we work in the seed bed, that's where we sort of basically throw down.
The seed bed is the name of the shared doc, by the way.
Oh, the shared doc, yeah, we call it a seed bed. That's where we throw down ideas. So I think it's just a bit of a brain vomit thing. Like we just throw down stuff. It can be stuff that we've seen that day, or maybe we've watched a film that we think, well, that was a bit weird. I'll pop that down in the seed bed and see if we can tease something out of that. Ideas come from absolutely anywhere, but then we pull it all down into the shared Google Doc, and that's where strips end up happening.
So here's,
and more often than not.
Here we go. There we go.
Here's a.
Are we on?
We're on.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. So this is Doug. This is what Doug gives me.
This is my high-tech version. Oh, hang on. This is my. So
this was the Lady Love strip recently that we did, that I got to enjoy a bit of porn drawing.
So yeah, this is me drawing very, very scratchy roughs. Obviously, I know she's going to draw better, and I go, "Oh, what's that? That's her problem." And I know that everything's going to change, but just process-wise, it's really good to have something specific to change from, because you can kind of faff about forever going, "Oh yeah, I think I know what it's like." It's better to make a mistake, and so you have something to correct. And then that turns into this. Is that sharing?
Yes. Is it?
So can you see the finished strip on screen, or is
I do not have the finished on screen? No.
Screen sharing. Okay, let's.
Unshare the first one.
Share screen?
and then try to do it again.
Okay.
Share screen.
Modern technology, I love it. It's neat that we can do this stuff to begin with.
And
so I see you're already laying out the lettering.
So that's.
So can you see that?
Yeah.
Yep. So from what Doug showed you, then that's what I end up doing. So.
Yeah. So I mean, and probably the script changed a bit from the rough to the final. It usually does, but because again, it's sort of good to go. Put down some words, and that we spend quite a lot of time going back and forth and saying that joke sucks. Can it be better? And some things we say, hey, that will change, but somebody's going to be declaring their love in that panel in a fun way. That dialogue is just temp.
Yeah, it looked like Doug's layouts are being done vertically, essentially. You know?
This is a 2-pager.
This is a 2-pager.
Oh,
so
okay.
2 pages
So that was the 2 pages. Yeah.
I see. Okay.
And so we go to the second page.
Yeah.
For that. Oh.
Yeah, but with regards to that other the question we just had, like, we're both fans of really left field humor anyway. So I think Doug particularly has got a brain that will pull the weirdest thing out of an idea, and so a lot of probably the more creative stuff comes from that brain there. So yeah, the weirder things. I'm going to blame you.
Yeah, and also you're always looking for things you haven't done, and you pick your low hanging fruit early on, and then you go, whoa.
And because it's fantasy, like you can literally throw in anything as long as it's not too anachronistic.
That is the one thing we try to avoid.
We try to avoid the anachronistic stuff.
Too many contemporary references, and obviously
some leach in, but
costume design. I'm pretty sure they didn't have thong underwear in the Middle Ages, but they should have.
That's funny.
Stockings.
Do you think that all the strips take place in the same world all the time, or
no,
they
don't.
Yeah.
They don't. No, you've got kind of separated kind of. And for the most part, the big long stories all kind of take place in the same world. So the Mistress and Sandoval and Ivan stuff takes place in the same world that the Greer and Navan stuff takes place in. I think Krona probably takes place in the same world, but a long way away from where the others are.
Right.
Like that's
but then we've kind of got two different versions of the devil. There's this really reasonable, long-suffering guy, and then there's this little
fatty devil,
little fatty idiot.
Fatty guy, I love him.
And I don't think they belong in the same.
And we've got all the gods, all of the gods. We've got contemporary modern world gods, and we've got our own made up gods like Sithrak, and then Zeus turns up and Yahweh turns up. So yeah, it's because we've done so much of that. I think that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
it doesn't happen in a different world. That doesn't happen in Mistress's universe. So yeah.
Yeah. Only because I'm curious. Are you guys gamers? Do you play D&D and stuff like that?
Yeah. No, I love a board game, love a video game. All that stuff. Yeah, definitely.
Love a role play
game.
Yeah. Good. I thought so from the way the worlds are built, but it's always good to ask these things. It's always good to ask these things.
No, there's very specific role-playing jokes in there sometimes.
Yeah. I agree. I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't. You're extraordinarily clever.
Thank you for not assuming.
Oh man. Is there another question, or are we all caught up? We're all caught up. Oh, there's plenty of questions. Okay. The Gray Fox. I love the more comical faces that you make more emoji style when people are in the background or far away. How do you decide on those types of faces?
I love that too. That's all.
Basically, it's the further away from a character gets, the less features you put on it, the better it looks. It was simply it looks better with just eyes and a stupid mouth. And I love a dumb, silly expression, and I if it makes me laugh, I put it in. So generally, all the silly faces that are being pulled is just because I can't help myself.
Yeah, and that's one thing Trudy cares about a lot is acting. The acting and the characters is kind of her thing.
Yeah.
And loves to get a performance out of them.
And if I can slip a visual gag in there or just something visually funny in, I will slip it in, generally because, you know, the funny in the script is coming from Doug. So I've, you know, got to throw my own bit of humor in. So, you know, if I can have, you know, idiots in the background looking stupid or, people slut mouthing or you know, having the medic sliding in from, you know, sideways in the back of the frame looking ridiculous, then I'll slip it in there because it makes me laugh and I hope it makes somebody else laugh too. So
I also assume that some of the simplicity of some of the reaction shots came from your love of manga, because that's a very common trope in manga. Yeah,
probably. I certainly I wouldn't be at all surprised. Like, you know, we soak up stuff we like and it all comes back out at some point. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if there's a link in there because
But it works so well, like in an emotional sense, is that when you're experiencing big emotions, everything else gets simpler, and that just reads so well. That relates to your experience as a human. Like all suddenly goes away when you're very angry.
Yeah.
Do you guys read a lot of comics these days?
No, it's to my eternal shame. I fucking read barely any. I spend more time reading. I do a lot of reading novels, and I don't even watch much TV these days. It's the more, the more work doing my own comic has been means that I'm really bad at it. And I wish I read more. I really do.
A lot of online comics.
Online comics. But actually going and buying
comics in a long time.
Going and buying.
The comic shops is always such a weird crapshoot in that if you don't know what you're looking for, you can go, oh, nice pictures, and so often you go, oh, I hate this book with nice pictures.
The other way around, you know, you may love the art, but my God, the writing's great. I wouldn't know because I'm a visual person, and so I'm going for the artwork that I like, and so it's a matter of finding things that I might like from recommendations from people who's has similar taste to me and that sort of thing. Right. So
I kind of feel like this is what my job is recommending. So
Well, the other thing is I can't get the comics I want because they haven't been fucking translated into English. Is the other thing. So
learn French. Come on.
I know, right? Bloody French.
Good.
Good curatorship. That's what you definitely want with your art.
Is there more, or if there's not, that's fine. I was just asking. And this looks like the last question at the moment. Johnny Johnson, do you two have a particular fondness for the fantasy game resulting in OGLAF setting, or is it just what? Oh, the genre. Sorry, or is it just the setting out of necessity for what you wanted OGLAF to be? Actually, I like that question. I like the framing of that question.
I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with fantasy. I can't quit it, but it has disappointed me so many times in the past.
Hang on, this is just porn with the words changed around. You said exactly what else? Hamburgers. Oh, I want to like them.
I want to like them.
So often a burger restaurant just betrays me.
Yeah. Anyway, answer the question.
Love fantasy as a genre. And it's one of those things that if it hits you at the right age, you go, you could be anything. It's this swirling, exciting vista of familiar yet unfamiliar and soaring adventure and hobbits and all this fabulous stuff. So for me, it definitely took me at exactly the right age to be reading those books and comics and consuming that media. So it totally got its hooks into me.
Me too. I fell out of love with it sort of in my 20s. I definitely fell out of love with it, but then I again, it reels me back in. I kind of can't stay away. But the many issues I have with it has been fodder for jokes. So, you know.
Yeah, but it's like anything. 99% of everything is a bit
That's
shit.
true. It's
You've
true.
gotta-
It's
yeah.
true. Horror is my favorite genre, and it lets me down 98% of the time.
99.9.
99.9% of the time.
Horror's
I
really
still
good,
love
right?
it. Yeah, it's still my favorite. But yeah.
Have you ever come up with a strip that you thought, oh, this would just work so much better if it was set in 2022?
Well, that's where we put strips on Patreon. If we've got something that is too contemporary and way too anachronistic, we now have somewhere that we can stick silly things like that. So Patreon gets bonus strips that way. So
how much bonus strips do you tend to put on Patreon?
Depends on what else is going on in our lives.
Sure.
I'm currently touring a live theatre show, which is eating up a whole bunch of my time. Yeah. That's super fun, but also kind of busy. Got to rush off to that in a couple of hours. So yeah, we try to get stuff up as often as we can. That varies between every couple of weeks and months of crickets. Which is embarrassing. Thank you, Patreons, for your patience.
To our credit, we haven't promised. So we haven't promised in a tier. We've left it deliberately.
Yeah, so you can look at the Patreon for free. There's lots of stuff to look at up there.
Yeah, and it seems very successful. I looked at it this morning, and you have about 2,800 people who are paying you roughly $3,700 a month.
It is fabulous. It is just so great.
Amazing.
It totally got us through the pandemic.
It did. Yeah.
It
makes it possible to do it. So yeah.
Yeah. Are you living purely off the comic? Do you have regular jobs outside of this anymore, or?
Doug does more than I do. I'm pretty much living off the comic.
Nice.
So that's Patreon and merchandise, because we sell through Tobacco.
Right.
We used to have the Project Wonderful ads up, which before we did Patreon, and then that folded. So we had to, we decided maybe we should do Patreon after all. But that keeps the strip going. And
we kickstarted a book a year or two ago, and that went pretty well. That was
almost $250,000.
Christ.
Pretty insane.
Pretty crazy.
That was an amazing month.
It was
extraordinary. Jesus.
Yeah. Feeling like fakes, like, oh my God, they're going to find out we don't know what we're doing, and it was a mood. But that was extraordinary.
So let's maybe talk just for a minute or two about Tobacco and how you got involved with them in the first place.
They approached us.
Yeah, so they are a niche company who do merch for webcomics.
And web things like that, because they've got
webcomic, so like Night Vale and stuff, which is a podcast, but mostly webcomics. And back in the day, we were starting to get a bit of spread through the world, and they contacted us, and we said, yes, we love what you do, and would love to be involved. And they're fabulous. They're
so good.
They're like comics people, creative people.
The goodest of good people.
And so it means that everything gets printed in the States, and so we don't have to worry about exorbitant shipping fees and so on.
Yeah. When they first approached you, was it for collections of the book, or was it for merch?
Yeah, for the book. Yeah.
Oh, very good. Okay.
Yeah. He said you want to print the first book.
Yeah. And then they ultimately did the Kickstarter, if I'm looking at my chain of custody there correctly. Was that was their idea, or was that your idea to kickstart?
Collectively, because they had previously just gone ahead and done book 1 and book 2, but with book 3 they wisely opted to crowdfund it. But now that Kickstarter has disgraced itself, they will now be doing it in-house, so book 4 will be done through their in-house crowdfunding thing. So but
cool.
They're good people.
Yeah, but no, fabulous people. Yes, very, very lucky to have fallen in with them.
Yeah. Do we know when book 4 is coming?
This year is my hope.
This year.
Sometime this year.
There's plenty of year left this year.
We've got the big story coming up that has kind of has to have priority, because it's been backburnered for an embarrassing number of years. it's taken so long to get it done. So we're kind of prioritizing that to get that happening, but also book 4 this year. So yeah. It's,
in time for Christmas for sure.
Nice.
Hopefully.
Yeah. I'll it's the only tricky thing from my point of view of working with them is that you have to buy directly from them. They don't distribute anywhere else, you know.
Right. Yeah, and that's a pain in the ass.
I mean, it's not a pain in the ass. It's they're actually very nice and wonderful to work with.
But it's just an extra step.
It's an extra step, right? You know. And there was a moment or two where at least book 1, I think both the first 2 books were out of print before 3 came out. Because we couldn't get it for a while there. And then when it came back into to print, we didn't even realize it at first because it just, we're dealing with distributors most of the time, rather than tracking each individual book, But that's neither here nor there. That's
how many, How many indie distributors like that are there that you deal with? Like
there's not a lot. Silver Sprocket, Radiator. I get some stuff from Microcosm once in a while. It's because it's difficult to hit minimums where it makes sense for the shipping costs for either of the 2 parties, because somebody's got to pay the shipping. Either the distributor's paying the shipping or the retailer's paying the shipping, and it gets tricky when you're not getting, like, I've tried several other of the books that they stock at Topatico, and but really OGLAF's the only one that we get traction on. We've sold, like, before even we made it the book of the month here, we'd sold 130 copies, something like that.
Wow.
Over 4 or 5 years. Yeah. So wow. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's it's the only reason I would kind of say, like, maybe you should urge them to, like, get the book distributed through Diamond or something as well, because I suspect you could sell even more copies than you're selling right now, for what that's worth.
Probably. Well, I know when they do their tables at the cons, people are surprised to know that there's a collected OGLAF book. So I think that's, again, we're self-promotion? No, thank you.
For other people. It's badly named.
Yeah. So, probably need to chat with them about things. Yeah.
We'll get our people to have a word with their people.
Yeah.
And by people, I mean Lego figurines.
Well, like I said, they're easy enough to work with. I would like to see the book become even more successful. That's all. And for any of you people who are watching at home too, I will sell you these books. I have them in stock, as you can see. I have a whole rack of them. And if you were to buy one from us too, you also get the cool signed book plate that is exclusive to us. Thank you guys for doing that, by the way.
Oh, actually, while we got you, do a bit of curating. So I'm in here buying OGLAF. What else were you going to recommend I look at?
Oh,
other books. Yeah. Come on.
I would have to go walk around the store, man. I can tell you. Next month's graphic novel of the month club is Buddy Does Jersey. So we're talking to Peter Bagg.
Nice, love him.
Should be really good.
He's the best.
And then because we have 2 clubs. We have one that's classics, comics masterpieces, like, of all time, and then we have a book that's brand new. And this month's brand new adult book is actually, and this goes really well with OGLAF, is Oxy, which is a Finnish fairy tale. It's a beautiful book, and look how thick it is.
Already have my attention. That sounds fabulous.
Don't sort of shame it.
No, I meant it so you can just,
fucking rude.
Just hold ours closer to the camera.
Christ.
It's a really
that is
really nice.
Tasty artwork. I like it.
Yeah, it's really good. And there's color sections, and it's really beautiful and lyrical, and so that's coming up on
Sweet.
that. So yeah. So that's some, but every month we curate a book. Every month we pick a brand new book, and and we try to find the best stuff, and we talk to people about it.
Love it.
That's kind of the point, man. Yeah. Cool. So the big book, I guess it's going to be a graphic novel, is what it's going to be, is what we should call it.
Oh, it's going to be no bigger than the previous book. It's a couple hundred pages.
It'll be its own book.
Yeah.
It'll be its own book.
Yes.
Yeah.
I misunderstood.
Yeah. What's the sense of when that's going to come out?
It's going to start this year. It's going to start in a few months' time, and it will roll on for a year or two.
Yeah. It's going to be a long one. So yeah.
Yeah. Is it genre work? Is it something more contemporary? Is it?
No, it's still
It's still OGLAF. It's still
OGLAF.
in the world of OGLAF.
It's the next big story, but it's a big story that
I see. Okay, very cool. Okay.
Yeah, a big OGLAF story. So yeah.
Wow. Do you find it challenging at all to switch gears to do a 200-page story when in the weekly strip, like I think the longest has been 8 pages, maybe?
No, there was one barbarian strip that was like 21.
The big Krona.
I'm sorry.
It was something 20-something.
But it was a very quick read because it didn't have many words. So
but we were drawing that for quite some time. Like that was working on behind the scenes for a while. But in terms of like stuff that we've had to churn out in a week, probably 6 to 8's about as many as
5 or 6.
Five or six. And that's been like breakneck speed trying to get that happening. So yeah,
I think part of the question that I'm wondering about is sort of the creative process of doing a longer story is different than doing a shorter story, and particularly if it's going to be set in the world of OGLAF, then I'm assuming it is also kind of a comedy. Yes.
Yep.
It is absolutely.
Okay. I don't want to make assumptions without
it's not going to be a pizza, right? You're going to make a comment.
So is it harder to sustain a joke over that length of a narrative, if you see what I mean?
The joke doesn't last the whole narrative. The narrative lasts the whole narrative. And the goal is to find jokes and bits of fun within each scene. So there's tension that lasts story long. The jokes come and go as quickly as they ever do.
Yeah. So more I suppose it more of a sitcom type format, I suppose, when we're doing this sort of long form stuff. I have to base it on. I have to use some sort of.
Oh, you've blown my mind. In what way is it like a sitcom?
It's I don't know. I don't know anymore.
What sitcom are you thinking of?
No, but just that the comedy comes from within the situation.
A situation comedy. I've blown my own mind.
It's not.
I don't know anything anymore.
It's not a strip. It's not a strip. So it's not. Here's the joke at the end.
It's the comedy of situation.
The comedy's. Oh, for fuck's sake.
It's the concept.
No, fuck you both. I've had enough. Fuck enough of the pair of you.
Trudy's logged off.
No, I have. Fuck yes. Fuck yes.
It's interesting. That is kind of what I was trying to get at, though. It's a different. The badump bump is a very different rhythmic structure than here's an arc of a story that is sweeping for 200 pages and that has badump bumps in the middle of it, right? Like it's
absolutely.
It's different.
It is different, and in some ways, badump bump is the total opposite because a lot of the time the temptation is to cash in tension for laughs, and you can get a great laugh when there's tension by breaking the tension, but of course you want to keep the tension in a longer story. There's less badump bumps per strip, definitely.
But still funny shit though.
Yeah. So I guess it's comedic ideas rather than big kapow kind of moments.
Yeah. Are you guys your own best audience or worst audience, or like is the goal to make each other laugh?
Yeah,
absolutely.
But you can never pick it. You can't pick it. Something that will make me laugh until I've got snot coming out my nose is the strip that doesn't even get a peep out of people. So, and then another strip will write. We go, "Ooh, are we going to get away with this? This is a bit and then people love it. So you just can't pick it. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't predict whether something's going to land or not.
Yeah, I was reading an interview with Ennio Morricone, and he was saying, yeah, you don't know, like the film after he did The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, like the classic Western theme music of all time. The director was going, are you gonna write me another classic theme? And he went, no, we'll find out later.
That's really true. That's really true.
So yeah, if we make each other laugh, we go with it.
That's enough.
We hope it makes. I mean, it's the same thing that we started OGLAF with. You know, if it makes us laugh, we just hope somebody else laughs as well. So
yeah, no, but ultimately we are the audience.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the way everybody should approach doing a comic.
Generally, I think.
Yeah. Do it for you first. Do it something that you wish was in the world, that you wish you could read, that you wish you could see, eat, and and hopefully it resonates with enough people that it can turn into something. But even if it doesn't,
you can be angry in your basement forever.
Even if it's literally just you and a couple of mates who enjoy it, who gives a shit?
That's what
if you're getting something out of it, that's the main thing. So,
angry basement comics.
Yeah.
It strikes me that it's both easier and harder to do a humor strip though than to say do a weekly romance, or a drama. Would you look like you're going to disagree with me vehemently there?
No, I'm going to disagree with you half-heartedly. Because don't have any experience with either the romance or the drama, but it's like anything. Like if you love the form, then each week you're going to work really hard to find that beautiful romance moment and go, this is the most romance thing I've done, and I am fully
tasting
romanced.
the romance. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like it's easy to do bad anything. You can do, I reckon, a bad romance strip is just as easy to do as a bad humor strip. But if you love the form and you want to do something good, then you work hard and you got to sweat.
It's funny because when you said that, it made me think of the Christmas week strips, which are always just kind of thrown out there,
So
like
the True Slut Adventures. Is that what,
kind of like bad on purpose, but they're usually hysterical as hell.
Yeah, it's tapping into that energy that we used to have when we would do the 24-hour comics, which is I'm sure people still do them, but a bunch of comic artists in someone's house, all of us drunk. Let's do a 24-hour comic, and it was just brain vomit, and oftentimes really funny. And that's kind of the energy we try to bring to True Slut Adventures. Just mental stuff.
No,
the dumber the better. The dumber the better. If we can just
I don't remember what the joke was, but there was something in this year's that just made me snort snot out of my nose. I can't remember what the line was, and I went to look it up today. But you take them down, it looks like.
No, they're gone.
Like a puppy. A Christmas strip is just for Christmas.
Yeah, they do get reprinted in the books, but they don't stay online. So
I can't even remember what we did.
It was the Mass Effect one.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Speaking of contemporary references, we went full sci-fi.
We did go full sci-fi.
The Chris Mass Effect, I think, was I don't know. There's something about it that just made me howl with laughter. You make me laugh, and it's the only webcomic I read, by the way. There's no other webcomic. No, I don't. So I'm a paper guy. I strongly feel like comics storytelling works better on paper than digital, and so I can't even when I pick books, for the club, I actually have to have the publishers send me like a galley. I need to have paper to look at. I cannot do it digitally. Right. Because I stare at the screen so much, like just doing my job, right? Like my attention starts to wander. And I want to start checking Facebook if I'm looking at comics. So this is. But the thing I was going to say is that I believe from anecdotally people telling me this is true for many people that this is the only webcomic they read. I hear it all the time from customers, like, "Oh, I love it! And, oh, I can get a print copy of it now, and I love it. It's the only one I read." And yeah, so
Rock on, Luddites.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. All right, the long book, the long story. Is it going to be kickstarted as well? Do you think? Is that the plan, or
when it comes time to print the book? Yes.
Yeah. So we'll publish the story online.
It'll be published on the it'll be published on the website. That's the same.
In as OGLAF, it'll be.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I misunderstood. I thought that this was a parallel project. Is how I was.
No. Just the next big continuing OGLAF story. So.
Oh, interesting. So wait. So that means you're going to do like a 3 or 4 year story. Is that? Is that?
Something
Wow.
like that.
Yeah.
Wow. What if people hate it?
Then we hate them.
We're gonna have a fucking terrible time. It's had by everybody.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put that thought in the head.
Yeah, okay.
No.
But now you put that out there. that would be horrible. I don't know.
I
do not know.
Yeah. It's just the worst thing we've ever done, and we're locked into it, and we can't get out.
Great jokes.
We've got to.
I think it's going to be all right.
I think it's.
Now you put them down into me.
I do wonder though. Are you? Is it all plotted out? Do you know what the whole thing is going to be?
This one, yes. Okay. We've learned some fucking hard lessons from the past. Yes, this is why we're not starting it until it's pretty much written and laid out and locked in. So it is currently in its second draft stage. Okay. So it's written, it's being finessed. Yeah.
And so maybe this would end up being OGLAF Book 5 essentially then?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah. Okay.
Very cool. Maybe six, depending on because there's we'll see. But 5 or 6. Yeah.
Great. No, I mean I love the idea that you're committing that there's gonna be a 5 and a 6 already. I like it. I like it.
Barring disaster.
Yeah.
Well,
I suppose that's a caveat that goes unspoken, really.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So I usually have 2 questions that I end things up with, and one of them is there anything else you want to plug? But I guess we've handled that. Because you're going to be doing. Is there anything else you want to plug?
Ben Baker's shirts.
This guy.
This is a friend of ours who's an excellent artist. His name's Ben Baker.
Fuck you
Baker is his handle,
Instagram.
and he does superlative stuff. And if you can get one of his T-shirts when he releases them, they're outstanding.
Nice.
What?
I wrote out.
I roved out. Oh, yes. Hang on.
So this is another super fun, porny fantasy web comic.
Yeah. I mean, if you want actual porn that's drawn beautifully, I roved out. Alexis Flower. It's online. You can read it all. It's fucking beautiful. It is.
Nice.
It is the sexiest damn thing, and it's proper pornography. This is
excellent.
Worth your time. So and I feel like people have been sleeping on I roved out, sleeping on it. It should be massive, more massive than it should be. So
is that local? Is that local in Australia?
I believe Canadian.
Okay. I haven't.
But
I haven't
sort
heard
of.
it. I'll-
Online is
is
the new local community.
It is.
Yeah.
Can't recommend enough.
Kind of, yeah. Very good. How about the play that you're doing, Doug? Do you wanna plug that or not?
It's called The Distraction. It's with a couple of comedians called the Umbilical Brothers. It's coming to the Netherlands and Germany and assorted places soon.
That's in
France
March.
in a couple of months.
March. That's in March. Don't know the dates yet because COVID has made things a little bit difficult for touring shows.
But if you go to umbilicalbrothers.com, they've got
they'll
cool
have all
details.
the
But that's a super
information.
fun show.
Yeah. Does that mean that like after you come back from tour, you're going to have to quarantine for 2 weeks? Is that how it works?
No, like a year ago, that would have been the case.
Okay.
But you kind of take it week by week these days.
Yeah. I thought that Australia was still like very not.
No.
Australia infected.
Zero fucks have been given. Like,
Yeah, no, we've got
we're in the let it.
We got the virus
phase.
fatigue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. This is the first day we were allowed to take off masks in San Francisco since the beginning.
Oh wow.
We have literally been wearing masks in San Francisco in all our stores for 3 years.
Oh wow.
Oh.
I mean, we're still in the mask phase,
Yeah.
so yeah. But
Yeah. It's yeah.
It's been a wild ride.
I'm absolutely positive we're going to be maskless for like 2 weeks, and then they're going to be like,
Yeah,
no, sorry,
yeah.
everybody's got to put them back on again.
Yeah.
We were wrong.
Here's a new variant. Surprise! Yeah.
There's a lot more letters in the Greek alphabet.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Okay, and then the last question that I ask is always the same, and it's as I said, this is a series of interviews that we do with creators. So we have a lot of people who want to make comics who watch these, and a lot of them don't know where to start or how to start or what to do. And so I would love it if both of you could give your kind of best piece of advice to someone who might want to follow in your footsteps and make comics. It can be something physical, it can be something practical, it can be something spiritual, emotional, any darn thing you want. So have at it.
My big piece of advice for people starting out is find a way to make yourself produce regular work.
Yeah.
The temptation is always going to be to fuss it and to have to be perfect. And that is totally the enemy of growth as an artist. So do whatever you can. Find something that works for you to make sure you're doing it on a regular basis, putting out a strip a week or a picture a month or an oil painting every 5 years. But if there's a deadline that you have to hit, and you have to and other people expecting it is a good way to put pressure on yourself. Whatever you can, put out work on the reg. Some of it will be terrible, but that's how you'll grow. Yeah.
Everybody, any artist who doesn't look back on their previous work with a bit of, with a big critical eye is probably lying to themselves.
Jesus, no! If you don't look back at your old work and say that sucks, then
you've
gotten worse.
Because I've known people who have, had comics in them, and they were going to go and produce the comics, and they did that. They just, it's not perfect yet. It's not perfect yet. It's not perfect. Just fucking get it out there.
Release imperfect work.
And don't redo old work. I just don't understand why people do that. Allow yourself that growth and allow people to see your growth. That's the other thing. Like, it's nothing will, inspire and the next generation of artists than seeing where you've come from. Every single artist, even some of the most well-known artists in the world, started rough.
Also, when's Platinum Grid coming out?
Oh, shut up. But anyway, allow yourself, to put out work that's imperfect. Because,
find a community too.
And find a community, yeah. And don't go into something. Always do it for you first and foremost. Do something that you want to see. Do something that you haven't found yet. And don't try to recreate what somebody else has done, because it always reads false. Like there is no formula for doing something successful. It's something that resonates or it doesn't. So, and allow yourself, to change projects. Don't feel trapped into doing something if it's not, pleasing you.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Pleasure.
That's a whole suite of answers. I loved that. That was really good. That was really good. I love that. Well, very good, man. I wanna thank the two of you for joining in and being a part of this. And I want to thank you for making the book. Is actually the main thing. It's good. These are good comics. These are really good comics, and I'm in love with them. I'm in love with you for making them. So thank you, really, truly.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us.
For having us on and supporting us and all the good stuff.
Yeah, well, keep making good comics. We'll keep doing that.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Ben, you want to put me on a 1 for a sec? Thank you. So just to remind everybody, I already covered this slightly earlier in the thing, but we have 3 different clubs. We actually have a kids club. That's next Sunday. We're talking to it's Batman and Scooby-Doo, and we're talking to Ivan Cohen and Charlie Fish about making Batman and Scooby-Doo comics. This should be a fun conversation.
Do they even believe in each other?
I know. It's something I didn't even know I needed, but I think I need it.
Yeah. No, they're in the same universe, apparently. I don't know. And then, as I said, next month's selection is Buddy Does Jersey. So we're talking to Peter Bagg. That's going to be great. And then on, I want to say next Sunday, maybe very soon, we're talking to Mari. I'm going to butcher her name here, Ahokuovu, from her native Finland, and she's going to be talking to us about Oxy. So watch for these shows and join the club, and it'll be great. And I want to thank you all. I want to thank Doug and Trudy for being here. I want to thank Ben, my son, for running the show. I want to thank Jordan for doing the producing. I want to thank my staff, Kat and Zoe and Katie, for making it so I can sit around and talk to people about comic books all day, while they take care of business. And I want to thank everybody who's watching and all the members of the club. And please join us. It's we love talking about comics. We love exposing good comics to the world. So thank you so much. We will see you next time.